Sexy, have you slept?
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
I'd like not to die today, so maybe somebody else should be driving.
Thunderbolts is kind of a weird beast, and I mean that in the best way possible. It's a Marvel movie that feels like it wants to go rogue, to slip out of the shackles of the usual MCU formula, and for the most part, it pulls that off in a way that feels, well, refreshing. Is it messy? Yes. Is it a little tonally confused? Also yes. But does it finally feel like Marvel is swinging at something a little more emotional, a little more human, and maybe a bit more self-aware? Absolutely. Right out of the gate, you can feel the tonal tug of war. The first third of the movie is heavy on setup, with a surprising amount of screen time dedicated to Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and a now politician Bucky Barnes. Yep, you read that right. The Winter Soldier is working the congressional circuit. It's a strange move, one that makes you pause and ask if this was all just a creative way to keep him involved in a film where he's more bystander than driver. And it's not the smoothest start. There's exposition, bureaucratic shuffling, some light political maneuvering, all of which might feel more at home in a Disney Plus series than a team-up feature film. But once the mission kicks in and the gang gets rolling, things perk up fast. That gang, by the way, is where Thunderbolts finds its real identity. It's kind of beautiful, really. A bunch of leftovers from the MCU fridge thrown together in a pan and somehow turning into a halfway decent meal. Florence Pugh's Yelena is the heartbeat of the group, still snarky, still emotionally guarded, but with more depth than ever before. Her dynamic with David Harbour's Red Guardian is a highlight, messy, heartfelt, and often hilarious. It leans into that awkward but genuine father-daughter energy in a way that feels like it was lifted from a much more grounded family drama. Their scenes together carry real emotional weight, but also give the movie some much-needed levity. On the flip side, we get Ghost, Hannah John-Kamen, Agent Walker, Wyatt Russell, and Red Guardian all squabbling like dysfunctional siblings. There's a standout moment where Yelena and Ghost roast Walker's battered Captain America helmet, calling it a hat. It's one of those little MCU character moments that just works. Thunderbolts lives in those spaces. The side glances, the sarcastic jabs, the quieter reflections that happen in between all the chaos. It's reminiscent of what made Infinity War work, those new character pairings that bounce in unpredictable ways. But then, we get the Sentry, and boy, does he change the game. Louis Pullman's Bob is a quietly devastating addition to the MCU. He's fragile, lonely, torn between godlike power and crippling self-doubt. His transformation into the Sentry is handled not as a bombastic superhero origin, but as a slow, emotionally devastating breakdown. He's basically a metaphor for unchecked depression, and when the Void, his dark alter ego, takes over, it's terrifying. His story gives Thunderbolts its most emotionally resonant spine, contrasting the group's snark with real, inescapable darkness. When he forces each Thunderbolt to confront their worst memories, the regrets they bury under bravado, it's raw. It feels like the MCU finally asking, what happens when you take all this trauma and actually sit with it? Director Jake Schreier leans into this psychological tension, and with cinematographer Andrew Drotz Palermo, the film finds an unexpected visual language. There's a hallway fight shot entirely from overhead in stark contrast lighting. Think shadows stretched like spider legs across a chessboard floor, and it says more about isolation than any monologue could. These are characters who feel truly alone in a world that only values them when they're useful. It's rare that an MCU film is this visually expressive, and it's a welcome change. But let's be honest, the film doesn't always know how to juggle all this. When it's in serious mode, it's borderline haunting. When it tries to pivot back to quips and team banter, it sometimes feels jarring. The humor isn't bad. Pugh and Harbour are still comedy gold, but tonally, it's like the film is fighting with itself. One moment you're watching a character break down over past trauma, and the next you're getting a sitcom-level zinger about patriotic cosplay. That whiplash can undercut the emotional momentum. And then there's the elephant, or tower in the room, Avengers Tower. The film's climax takes place there, and it visually echoes the original Battle of New York. It's meant to evoke legacy, but it also serves as a quiet reminder that these aren't the Avengers. Yelena even asks aloud, "What's the point?" And it's kind of the core question the movie grapples with. Can a team of broken misfits, mostly forgotten by the world, matter? Can they be more than just damaged goods patched together with dark jokes and combat skills? Thunderbolts doesn't answer that question in a neat, triumphant way. It ends in a place of uneasy acceptance. These people are not the Avengers. They're not even close, but they are something. They're survivors. They're each other's only real family. And even if the movie never fully coalesces into the powerhouse ensemble it wants to be, there's something really moving in that attempt. So yeah, Thunderbolts is kind of a downer, but in a way that feels honest. It's not the rousing group hug we're used to from team-up movies, but it's also not trying to be. It's a film about trauma, loneliness, and trying to scrape together some hope when you're all out of clean starts. It's clunky in places, overly busy in others, but at its core, it's a character-driven exploration of what redemption might actually look like when you're not wearing the shiny star-spangled suit. Verdict? It's the most emotionally resonant Marvel movie in a while. Not the funniest, not the most epic, but maybe the most human.